Hey everybody, Patrick here. Welcome to my channel. I own a tech company. I love gear. I love talking about gear. I'm a worship pastor. I'm a dad. I'm a husband, and I love just sharing my life with you. And I'm sitting here on the stage at my church's new location that we've been putting together. It's really exciting to be here. So I wanted to start this back to basics kind of course, and it starts today. It starts in this video. It starts right now. And if you have questions about how to use your Mac or something you've always wondered, let me know what it is in the comments. But today, we're going to be talking about the desktop, because when you turn on your Mac, first thing you see is the desktop. So stay tuned. If you have questions about things you want to learn how to do on your Mac or things that are confusing about your Mac, let me know. Let's have a good time, and I hope you learned something. I thought, oh, my coffee's still here. Gotta have that. Now, I remember getting my first Mac. The reason I got a Mac was because my friend Nick worked at the Apple store. It was time for me to buy a computer, and he said, bro, you should get a Mac. And I did. And I turned it on, and there was this setup process, and I was confused, and I didn't know what to do. Not only was it my first computer, but it was also a computer that basically everyone around me didn't use. Now, this was back in the day when they had PowerBooks. You know, this was before the MacBook. This was before so many things that Apple has released now. And, you know, you look around and it seems like everybody's using a Mac. But when I first started using Macs, we had to convince people why it was good. And since less people used it, when you turned it on, it was a little bit less familiar than some of the PC or Windows-based systems that you've used in the past. And if you're new to Macs, this video is going to be great for you because you're going to go, well, I never, have been given a walkthrough of how this stuff works. Or if you've been using a Mac for a long time, I bet you there's going to be some things in this video that you didn't know existed or didn't know that you could do, or you're going to find some new ways to use your Mac in an easier, more functional way. But when you turn on your computer, the first thing you see is this area here we call the desktop. Now, on the desktop, you're going to see quite a few things that will be familiar to you, quite a few things that are going to be brand new to you. And I just want to walk through all the things we're looking at here so that you have a framework for how you can better use your Mac. Okay, so right off the bat, we see a few things on our desktop. Okay, number one, at the very top of the screen, you're going to see this big bar here. Now, this bar is called the menu bar. It's always there. And the menu bar does quite a few things. Number one, it tells you what application you are using. Now, you might be used to saying the word what program you're using, but on a Mac, we say application. So right here, you'll see I'm using the Finder. You're saying, well, Patrick, I haven't opened up any applications. Why am I already using the Finder? Well, the Finder is basically an application that runs your whole computer. You can't quit it. You can only restart it. It's always running. But if I move down here and let's say open up my audio MIDI setup, I just picked that randomly. That application opens. You can see it's in the foreground, so I see my audio MIDI setup pop up here in the menu bar, showing me that not only am I using that application, but that application has a menu, and it has its own set of menus to its left, our right. Okay, so if I go to the Finder, you see it has the file menu, the edit menu, the view menu, the go menu. If I click back on the audio MIDI setup, it doesn't have the file menu. It has the edit menu, the view menu, the MIDI studio. Every single application has different menus. And this happens all the time. Like, I'll be looking at my desktop and or helping someone and saying, hey, click around in this application. And they're thinking, well, it's not letting me do what I want it to do. And I say, hey, peek up in the top left-hand corner of your screen. What does it say? And they say, oh, it says Finder. And I'm like, okay, well, you haven't brought that application to the foreground to use. So click on it again, and it comes right back up, and you can see audio MIDI setup is being used. You see all of its menus. Very easy. The application you're using is being shown. The menus that go along with that application are being shown there as well. You will always see this Apple menu. It's not a logo. It's actually a menu. Let me go ahead and quit the application I had open there as an example. Right inside of this Apple menu, you see About This Mac. Now, this is kind of boring, but it is important. This gives you an overview of your operating system, your display setup, your storage, some support information, as well as service. But right here in this overview, I want to show you something really cool. You'll see that it has your serial number right there. Now, mine's blocked out because I don't want anybody seeing my serial number. But this is important if you ever need service like over the phone for your computer. You call up support and they'll tell you, hey, or ask you what's your serial number. I don't know. It's right there. It'll show it to you right there, so you can find it easily. And you can also click and drag and copy that serial number if you wanted to. So right inside of this Apple menu, we see about this Mac. Kind of important. You're not going to use it a ton though. We also see software updates. You'll see a software update here, as well as your App Store updates will appear there. Apps you've downloaded, if they need to be updated, will appear there. There are two important words to remember in Apple world: upgrade and update. If someone says you need to upgrade that, it's going to cost you money.
I'm a big fan of money. I like it. I use it. I have a little.
Updating is almost always free. So your software updates and your App Store updates, always free. We see recent items. We see force quit. Now, this is really important. If an application decides to stop functioning and it's just giving you that pinwheel that we always talk about, the beach ball, maybe you call it. If I click on force quit, every application I have running appears here. And I can click on one of those apps like Messenger, let's say, and say force quit. It might give me a warning like you're going to lose all of your unsaved work, force quit, and that app closes, okay? So if you're having problems with applications, right here in the Apple menu, force quit. You'll also see that your Mac can restart, it can shut down, and it can also sleep. A lot of people say, hey, I'm going to shut down my Mac, and they just close the screen. That's not shutting down your Mac. That's putting it to sleep. Oh, I never need to shut my Mac down. It can just go to sleep whenever it needs to, and every once in a while you do need to shut your computer down just to kind of start from fresh. The same way a human body needs to rest and relax, your computers do at times as well. I'm going to move down here to the bottom. You'll see log out Patrick Murphy. Yes, I have my own user account on this computer. And a lot of people think of computers as, this is my house. It has all of my things. Well, you can actually think of a computer as more of an apartment building. So in an apartment building, there are many homes, and I have the key to one, and I unlock one door, and inside of that door are all my things, my files, my folders, my videos, my pictures, the applications I've downloaded, my bookmarks. But in someone else's apartment, they have their stuff. So every single Mac can house many different users. Now, you might run out of space on your Mac, but if you have multiple users on your Mac, you'll see log out of Patrick Murphy there. And then over to the right side of the menu bar, which we'll move over to now, you'll see that my username is there because I am Patrick Murphy. I'm the user currently logged in. I could switch to another user if that user had been created. I can also switch over. I believe I see, I've got like a Kindle account on my computer as well. So I can just switch between accounts right from the menu bar. Let's keep talking about that menu bar over to the right here. You'll see that every single Mac has different items in the menu bar depending on what you've downloaded. For instance, I have a backup application called Crash Plan. It has its own item in the menu bar, its own menu in the menu bar. You'll see that I have my Bluetooth menu here. Maybe I wanted to not have the Bluetooth menu in the menu bar. That can be changed, and that's all done inside of System Preferences, which we can talk about another time. But over to the right here, you have other applications, or I'm sorry, I should say other icons that show up depending on what applications you have installed on your Mac. But there's a few buttons on the right-hand side of this menu bar that are always here. Number one, you've got these three little lines that show you a ton of notifications for today. I've got calendar, stocks, things like that. I also have a do not disturb button here. If you're in the middle of a Zoom meeting or you're sharing your screen and you don't want a bunch of text messages coming in and things like that, you can turn on do not disturb. You also have night shift, which kind of changes the color, the scale of your computer. I don't think that's the right word.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
It changes the something of your screen to make it a little bit easier on the eyes if it's nighttime. You'll also see over here notifications. Now, all of the notifications that have been pouring in on my computer will show up right over here on the right-hand side of my screen, and that's these three little lines that you're going to click on here. You also have your very own Siri button, which I'm going to immediately turn off. I never use Siri on my Mac. Many people do. But there's a Siri item in the menu bar as well. You also see Spotlight. Now, Spotlight is something, let me move this to the center of the screen. Spotlight is your global search on your Mac. Now, Spotlight we could do a whole video about. I probably am going to do a whole video about, but long story short, if you're looking for something on your computer and you don't know where that item is, but you remember what it's called, or even if you want to find a document that has a specific phrase in it, you can use Spotlight. Now, Spotlight can be accessed in almost every single application. It can be accessed in multiple different ways, but one of the ways you can access it is by clicking that little icon in the menu bar. And that brings me to a really quick point that there's almost always more than one way to skin a cat on the Mac. What I mean by that is there's ways that I do things on the Mac, and you may do that exact same thing a different way. Some people use shortcut keys, some people don't. Some people right-click by holding down the control key and clicking. Some people click with 2 fingers on a trackpad. There is always another way to get done what you want done on your Mac. Very rarely will you find one way to do things. There's almost always another way, and this is a perfect example. Spotlight can be clicked on right here in the menu bar. I can also hold down Command and then the space bar, and that's a shortcut key for Spotlight popping up. I don't want to get into too many shortcut keys because I think I want to do a whole nother video on shortcut keys, but more than one way to skin a cat on the Mac. Point made. Now you'll also see over here I have what Wi-Fi signal I'm using, what my volume is currently at. I also have, let's see what's built in here. You also see some like location services here. You also see your battery. And you can select that you want to show the percentage of the battery or not. You also see your date and time. View as analog, view as digital. Right there. If you're ever just looking for the time and the date, move right up here, click, you see the time, you see the date. Easy. Very, very easy. Before I get into this main area here on the desktop, I want to just scoot right down to this area down here, and this is called the dock. So we've got the menu bar at the top of our screen, we've got the dock at the bottom of our screen. And the dock is a place where shortcuts live. Nothing lives on the dock. I can take things away from the dock, I can add things to the dock. I can create a shortcut to anything I want, almost anything I want in the dock. But let me just talk about how the dock operates a little bit. And to do that, I want to get into right-clicking on your Mac. You have a mouse. You have your left click. You have your right click. This selects things. The right click brings up a ton of extra menus. On the Mac, you can right-click as well, but it's a little bit different. First of all, if you're using a mouse and you just use the right-click button, a right-click menu will pop up on your Mac. You can also hold down on a portable machine like I'm using, a laptop. You can hold down your control key, which, by the way, Apple stopped calling their Macs laptops a long time ago. Okay? And I remember when I was at the store and someone came in and was like, "You have any laptops?" And I would have to say things like, "Sure, our portables are right this way." And that's, I think, one of the reasons is, as these Macs became more and more powerful, they would get hotter and hotter on people's laps. And we would have people come in and complain that, "Oh my gosh, my lap is so hot as I'm using my Mac." And I'm like, well, that's why we call it a portable. You really don't want it on your lap. You want it on a desk somewhere so that your skin is safe. Crazy. Small language that saves their butts from legal arguments. Okay, so on your portable machine, you can hold down the control key and click. That will bring up a right-clicked menu. You can also just take 2 fingers on your trackpad and click. That also brings up a right-click menu. And you can change those settings in your system preferences at any time. But let's get back down into this dock. Now on this dock, you see that I've got quite a few items. As I move my mouse across these different items, it shows you their names. At any time, I can click and just hold my mouse down, don't let go until I see that little remove, and let go. Boom, that item is removed from my dock. I don't want to get too deep into the Finder today, but if I open up my applications and say, you know what, I do want calendar on my dock, I'm going to click and drag it down to the dock. Now, don't let go of your mouse. Don't let go of your mouse until you move over the dock and it opens up and creates a space for you. You let go, whoop, I've now got a shortcut to that item on the dock. Now, also, remember, there's always another way to do things on your Mac. If I right-click on that item, you see options, one of them being remove from dock. Boop. Maybe you've created a shortcut to something on your dock and you're going, well, where does that actually live on my computer? This is a really good point that we need to talk about a lot. There are areas on your Mac where you create shortcuts, and there are areas on your Mac where things actually live. The dock is a place where shortcuts are created. I already said that, but I really want to hammer that nail a few more times. Notice here I'm seeing my calendar inside of a Finder window. Again, we're going to get into the Finder later. If I drag and drop that item onto my dock as a shortcut, notice it doesn't leave this area where I found it. It still lives there. I've just created a shortcut to it somewhere else, and that place is called the dock for now. Okay? Now, if I move down the dock, I see this line here. And you'll notice as I move my mouse over that line, a little resize arrow comes up because I can click and just drag. I can make my dock super tiny. I can make my dock super small. I'm going to make it about this big for right now. I said tiny or small. I can make my dock super tiny. I can make my dock large. Okay, if I right click, again, it's going to bring up some menus, and you're going to see some different things that you can change about the dock. Turn hiding on. I hate this feature. Many people like it. The dock is hidden. I move my mouse over it. It pops up. I move away. It disappears. I move my mouse over. It pops up. I don't like that feature, so I'm going to turn it off. There's also another feature I don't like called magnification. As you move across the dock, it just kind of pops up out at you. A lot of people like that. Not my cup of tea, but that's okay. We can also right-click again, and we can change. I said we can right-click again. We can change the position on the screen. We can make it on the left. We can make it on the right. I like to keep the dock at the bottom. Very few people, I'm seeing very few people do this anymore, but you still can change the position if you'd like. Is there anything else? Minimize using scale effect, genie effect. And if you want to get into more preferences, you can open up the dock preferences, which brings you into system preferences. But this line isn't just something you can right-click on to change the way the dock functions. You'll also notice that over to the right, there are other shortcuts here. So there's sections on the dock. Over to my left, I see the shortcuts to applications or programs that I have created. These items don't live here. They're just shortcuts. You should put your favorite apps that you use every day in this dock. Here comes a line. Right here, you're going to find some like recently used, recently opened things that don't live on your dock. And then to the right, we find shortcuts as well to files and folders. So not only can you create shortcuts to applications on your dock, you can create shortcuts to that document you've been working on, that photo that's your favorite, that folder of important financial information that you need to access every single day because you're a CPA, whatever the case may be. And you can, of course, here's a folder on my desktop right now. I can drag and drop it onto the dock as a shortcut. I can drag it off of the dock, and it removes that shortcut. So files, folders, applications that you've just recently opened are all found as shortcuts on the dock. You also find your trash here. Now, a lot of times I've actually had multiple people tell me, oh yeah, I just keep a few things in the trash. Is that bad? No, in your home, you don't keep things in the trash can. You only put things you want to get rid of in your trash can. And if I right click, I can empty my trash can. Just because you put something in the trash can on your Mac doesn't mean that it's left. It's still there. You need to empty your trash. Just like your apartment, just like your home. But what if there's something in my trash can here that I don't want to delete, and I open it up before you empty your trash, open it to make sure everything there is something you actually want to delete. And what if I open my trash and I go, oh my gosh, this actually all of this stuff I want to keep, but let's pretend this road connect here. Oh, I don't want to delete that. I can right click on it and I'll select put back, and it'll put it back onto my computer. I can also drag it wherever I want if I don't want it to go back to its original location. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and right click, empty trash. It says, are you sure? The trash can is empty. So we know that we've emptied our trash. So we have our menu bar at the top of the screen. We have our dock at the bottom of the screen. Places where we're just interacting with menus and shortcuts. Now let's talk about this big area here. Now the reason why I don't have a fancy picture on my desktop is because I do a lot of presentations like this where I'm showing my screen. And if there was something there that like an embarrassing picture of me and my, wife or my kids, like, I don't want people to see that. Not that I'm embarrassed by my wife, my kids, or my family. It's just I wanted to kind of have just a standard professional background. But at any time, let's use that right click feature again. Right click here. I can, let me see, change my desktop background at any given time. Now, there's another way to do that right inside of System Preferences, and if I click here, it's going to take me there, but I want to talk about System Preferences in another video. So you can change your desktop background to a photo, to a color, to just about anything using this little shortcut here. Right click on your desktop, change desktop background. You'll also notice that on my desktop, I have a few things that I'm seeing. I see a couple of folders and files, and then I also just see my Macintosh HD, which stands for hard drive. You can have anything you want living on your desktop. So when we talk about shortcuts and where things live, your desktop is an area where things actually live. If I remove things from my desktop and put them like this little file here and put it into the trash, it will actually delete it from my computer, okay? If I delete something from the dock, though, remember, those are just shortcuts. It's not removing them from my computer, okay? So now you're going to see a couple of things on the desktop here. First of all, you just see a file. Now, this file is a movie. If I just open it up here, it's just like me showing an example of something. Then you also see this file here, and hopefully I'm going to zoom in here to show you. See that this little, I have file 1, and I have file1.mov alias. You can create shortcuts to files and folders by simply right-clicking on them and saying make alias. And if I did that, it would just make a file1.mov alias 2. And you'll notice that the aliases of files have these little bitty arrows right next to their icon. Now, most desktops I interact with look more like this, where there's all these files all over the place on the desktop. And to be honest, when I see this, it brings me so much pain. And not just because it's messy and it's cluttered, but there's one other reason. If you are just saving everything to your desktop, you're going to have a bad time. And let me explain why. Your Mac is really powerful. Any computer nowadays is pretty powerful. But if it's always searching one giant junk drawer to find things, it's going to take longer. If you have things neatly organized in folders within music, movies, documents, or creating your own folders like Patrick's Finances, my favorite photos, whatever it is, it's going to create a hierarchy system that your computer can move through a little bit quicker. So you don't want to have just a ton of things stored on your desktop. It becomes a junk drawer, it becomes cluttered, it looks bad. Also, if someone snags your computer when you're not close to it and they want to steal something from you, you have everything on your desktop, it's easier for them just to take all that stuff and walk away instead of having things neatly organized in places that they have to look for stuff to steal. Don't want to be an alarmist, but just it is something to bring up. And you'll also notice, like, let's pretend that I do have a ton of stuff on my desktop. I'm in the middle of a big edit or a big project. How do I organize this stuff really, really quickly? Well, I kind of previewed this menu earlier while I was setting this up, but within every single application, you have two ways that you can change the way things operate. Almost every single application has preferences. Okay? And I'm going to click on my Finder preferences because my Finder is what runs my desktop. How do I know that? Well, remember the first lesson I taught you? When you click on your desktop here and you're interacting with your desktop, I move right up to the menu bar and I see Finder. It says you're using the Finder. The Finder shows me files and folders, rooms in my apartment on my computer. And the desktop is an actual space where things live. So I'm using my Finder when I'm using the desktop. Finder preferences. Now, every single application has preferences, and since the Finder has so many areas of your computer it runs, that depending on what you're using, there are different preferences we can change here. For instance, show these items on the desktop. This little Macintosh HD, this hard drive, I don't want to see hard drives on the desktop. Uncheck that, it disappears. See how it's disappearing there? External disks. So when I plug in a flash drive, when I plug in an external hard drive, do I want that to show up on the desktop? Connected servers. New Finder windows open up and show this, blah, 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 blah. Now, we can make some changes there. You'll also see under View, Yes, show view options. So we can change the preferences of the Finder as a whole or the specific area I'm looking at. We also see some view options here. I'm getting somewhere, and I think this is going to be helpful. So within an application, if you want to change the way it functions or the way it looks, see if it has view options, and it almost always has preferences. But right now I want to clean up this desktop. Show view options. You'll see this selection here that says sort by what? None? Yeah, that means I can just drag and drop something on my desktop, and wherever I drag and drop it, that's where it lives. What about sort by? This is my favorite, snap to grid. Behind your desktop, there's a little grid that things can snap to. Now watch this. When I drag this Untitled 8 document and let go, see how it kind of snapped it to an area? Untitled 5, I want it to be right underneath it. Whoop. Untitled 7, I let go. I want something right beside it. Whoop. So see how everything is snapping to a little bit of a grid? What if I just wanted to clean this up in one fell swoop? Watch this, I love this. If I want to, I can just right-click on my desktop, clean up, and all of those icons, wherever they are, snap to a bit of a grid, and it may not be exactly how you want to organize, but now everything is lined up with a bit of a structure, and nothing is stacked on top of each other, okay? So, on your desktop, you see files, you see folders. You shouldn't have everything on your desktop, but arranging it, making it look the way you want, not very difficult. Cleaning it up, not very difficult. You'll also see a selection here on your desktop that says change the icon size. Now, that's obviously aggressive. Let's put that down. Ooh, I think I might make things a little bit smaller. Yeah, that works for me. So, right on your desktop, we have our menu bar. On the top of it, the bottom of our desktop, we have the dock. In the menu bar, we see what application we're using. We see how we can move through these different menus to make things look and feel the way we want and to interact with applications. On the bottom, we see the dock. The dock is straight up shortcuts in your trash. Shortcuts to almost anything. Files, folders, applications, what you've currently recently opened. And then on your desktop, you see things that are plugged into your computer. You see your hard drive, and you see any file and folder there that you've decided to save to your desktop. And you can then clean your desktop and make it look, give it like an orderly fashion. You can make the icons larger or smaller. You can change your desktop background. And this is a really basic walkthrough of our desktop. We're gonna keep going through some of these videos, just getting back to basics. And I guess my question for you today is, when did you get your Mac? And do you have a question about your desktop? Like, subscribe, let me know all the questions you have in the comments, and I will answer those questions. I hope this video was helpful for you. I'll see you in the next one.